Hello children and welcome to Thursday's literacy lesson. So I'm on the Year 2 comprehension booklet and I'm going to begin by saying well done to Hermione and well done to Samuel. These two children are my stars of the day today because I'm very impressed with the work you have emailed in. Hermione, I'm very impressed that you've listened carefully to my instructions in my video from earlier in the week and you've used your yellow lined book to do your answers. And I can see that you've used capital letters, full stops and finger spaces, and you're trying really hard with your handwriting. So well done, Hermione. And also, it was lovely to see that you did my challenge of the day and you wrote me, Miss James and Miss Richards a thank you letter. And it was lovely to read, it was really nice. So thank you very much, Hermione, and well done. And Samuel, I've got a picture of you on here. Now you've already been on this week, but you just continue to blow me away. You send your emails every day and you always work very hard, so I've popped you on again today. And I'm very impressed that you've got a table and you've got your pencil, you've got the video on and the TV in the background, and you're working very, very hard, listening very carefully and thinking about your answers and your comprehension. So well done to Samuel. Now if you haven't seen your work on my board yet, it's because you might not have sent me an email. So if you're watching this video and you know you've done some lovely work, like Hermione and Samuel, please send me a photograph so I can put it on my board tomorrow or next week, okay? Because I know you'll be working hard at home, but I'd like to share it with everybody else. So okay, nice hard work today, and don't forget to send me a picture. So moving on to our learning today, our learning question is the same. Can I read and answer questions from a piece of text? And we are on page 4 today. So we're looking for page 4 and it's all about a science museum. The title of the page, The Science Museum. And the text is a diary entry today. So we haven't seen a diary entry before in our comprehension booklet. We've had a thank you letter and we've had a postcard and we had a recount yesterday, and they are all very similar, but there are different features, which is what we have to look out for to know what kind of text. So it's the type of text that we're looking at, okay? So it's a diary entry. So you might have a diary at home, and a diary is something that you write in all about what you've been doing, but you write it to yourself so that when you read it, you can remember what you did and how you felt on a certain day. So they're quite good to keep your memories all together. So ask your grown-up or ask your family members, whoever you are with, if they have a diary, and maybe if somebody's got one, you could have a look at it together. And sometimes people don't like to share their diaries because they might be private, they might be just about what they feel. But sometimes people share their diaries because they want to share their experience, which is something that they've done that is exciting or something that is special or something that is different that they want to share with other people, okay? So that is what we're looking at today. We're looking at a diary entry. So if you go to page 4 and you look at your text, at the beginning it says, Dear Diary. And then there's a piece of text, and at the bottom it says somebody's name, and it's Abigail. So Abigail has written a diary entry today for our text, and that's another important part. If you're writing a diary entry, you always have to put your name at the bottom so that we know who it is from, okay? And it's normally a letter to yourself, an entry to yourself in a little book, and every day you write a little bit about what you have done. So, before we read the text all together, we're going to have a look at some of the key words that we might not know the meaning of, okay? So I've looked carefully, I've been a detective, and I've picked out 4 words that we might not know the meaning of. Because if we don't know what the words mean in the text, we can't answer questions about it, can we? We need to understand the text before we answer questions about it. And I can see that you've all been doing this at home because I can see on the photographs you are circling words and underlining information so that when you answer your questions you know where to look in the text. So that's really good work, year 1. So our first word today is museum. So have a think about the word museum. Do you know what it means? You might have been to a museum before. we went on a trip to a museum in reception, and you might remember, we went onto a coach and we drove all the way, and we went around and we looked at lots of special things, had our lunch, then got the coach back to school. So we have been to a museum before, but you might have been to one with your family. So a museum is a building in which objects of historical, scientific, artistic or cultural interest are stored and exhibited. And that means that a museum has lots of special objects or pictures or experiences that are kept very safe. They are stored away in cabinets and only special people can go and visit them, and they are shown off. So when something from a historical museum might have an object from a very long time ago that has been kept very safe, and then people can go and visit it and go and look at it. Okay? So that is what a museum is. And in our text today, there is a science museum. So have a little think about what objects you might find in a science museum. Now my second keyword is the word traffic. So what is traffic? Traffic is when there are vehicles moving on a public road or highway. So if you get in a car or if you get a bus to school or a taxi, you are in a vehicle, and that when you're on the road, that's the traffic. Sometimes you have to stop at a red traffic light, so you can't go anywhere, so we have to wait. But if it's on green, we can go. So sometimes there is slow traffic, sometimes there is fast traffic, and that's important in our text today. The next word is the word enormous, which means very big. An enormous object is something very large or very big in the size, the amount or the extent of it, okay? So the word enormous is very big or very large or very giant, it's huge, okay? And my last key word is, well, there's two words here, a model aeroplane. Oh, let's have a think what a model aeroplane could be. A model aeroplane is a model aircraft, which is a small, unmanned aircraft, okay? So the word aeroplane and the word aircraft means the same. It's an aeroplane or an aircraft. And a model aircraft or aeroplane is a very small, unmanned, so there's nobody in it, it's like a little toy, okay? And it's a little example of what an actual aeroplane or aircraft looks like. So obviously if you've been on an aeroplane before, they are quite big, okay? So we couldn't have a real aeroplane in a museum because it would fill the whole room. So sometimes people make a model, a smaller version of it, okay? So we can look at what it would look like on a smaller scale. So these 4 words are in our text today. So I'd like you to look for them now and underline them or circle them, because we might need those words to help us answer the questions. So here it is on the board, the text. So hopefully you can see that with me. So we're going to read it together. So we're going to think about our phase 5 phonics, and we're going to think about all those tricky words, and we're going to think about reading fluently, reading it a little bit quicker, okay? But remember, we have to think about what we've read so we don't forget, so we know it makes sense, okay? And we're not just reading it, but not listening to what we've read. So, you might want to pause the video now and read it yourself, or you'd want to listen to me read it and then read it yourself after. So, at the beginning, we've got Dear Diary. We went on a trip to the Science Museum today. We travelled there on a coach from school. The journey took a long time because there was lots of traffic, but it was worth it. At the museum, we learned all about travelling to space and saw some enormous space rockets. We also found out all about the human body and how it works. I really wanted to see some of the model aeroplanes before we left, but we ran out of time. I hope I get to go back soon. Abigail. So we've got Dear Diary at the top, which is a feature, isn't it, of a diary. We've got a name at the bottom, so we know who it's from. And then here in the middle is the diary entry, okay? It's all the information about what this girl, Abigail, has already done. So she went on a trip, so we could underline the word trip, to this Science Museum. Underline the key information. We travelled there, so that's how she got there, on a coach from school. The journey took a long time. So we're going to underline long time because there was lots of traffic. So we know, because we looked at the meaning of the word traffic, that means there was lots of cars on the road. So it must have taken her quite a long time to get there, and she tells us that in her diary. At the museum, we learned all about travelling to space. So we've done lots of work on space at school, and we know that space is part of the solar system, isn't it? Okay, where planet Earth is and the moon. So we know it's all about science, and saw some enormous space rockets. So when she went to the museum, she must have seen a real rocket, and it was enormous. So was it big or small? Well done if you said it was big. Very large, the word enormous means. We also found out about the human body and how it works. I really wanted to see some of the model aeroplanes before we left, but, going to underline but, we ran out of time. I hope I get to go back soon. So she wants to go back to the museum, doesn't she? She must have had a really good time because she wanted to go and see the model aeroplanes, but she ran out of time. So we've looked really carefully at our text, and we've thought about what's happening, and we've thought about what words mean, and we've had a little look at things and discussed what might be happening, okay? How might she be feeling? I think she had a good time, okay? So have a little discussion now, read the text again, and get really confident with what's happening in the text. And then we're going to have a look at question 4. Now question 4 is, do you think Abigail liked the Science Museum? How do you know? So question 4, at the bottom of your page, do you think Abigail liked the Science Museum? So it's asking if, do you think? So this question, we've got to think about what we think. Do you think she had a good time at the Science Museum? And at the end it says, how do you know? So it's asking for your opinion, but it's asking you to say how you know. Okay, so let's go back to our text. We need to find something in the text that tells us she had a good time, or if she didn't have a good time. So we've underlined some key words here. So let's go back to them and see if it gives us our answer. So we went on a trip to the Science Museum. We travelled there on a coach. So we don't know how she's feeling there, do we? We don't know if it's good or bad. So let's keep reading and see if we get to know if she had a good time. The journey took a long time because there was lots of traffic. So that's a bit of a sad thing, isn't it? Took a long time to get there, so she might not be feeling very happy there. But let's see what it says next. We've got the word but it was worth it. I think we might have found an answer there. We know that Abigail had a good time at the museum because it was worth the long journey. So that's a reason. That's telling us as the reader that Abigail had a very good time because it was worth all the traffic. So there we go. If you've got a different colour pencil, or if you've got a highlighter, I'd like you to highlight or circle this part of the text. But it was worth it. That's definitely one of the answers, okay? Let's keep reading to see if it tells us any more. At the museum, we learned all about travelling to space and saw some enormous space rockets. We also found out about the human body and how it works. So she's telling us what she's done there. Does it tell us if she's having a good time? What do you think? Let's carry on reading. I really wanted to see some of the model aeroplanes. So I'm going to underline the word really, because if you really want something, you are excited, and I really want to see the aeroplanes. So that tells us she's having a good time and she's excited and she's interested because she really wanted to see them. But they ran out of time, didn't they? So she wanted to go and look at more, but she had to get back on the coach to school. So that is another example there of how we know she had a good time. And at the end, I hope I get to go back soon. That is another example of Abigail telling us in her diary entry that she had a good time because she wants to go back. So let's go back to the question. Do you think Abigail likes the Science Museum? Yes or no? I'm going to say yes. How do I know? Now, I'm not going to model the answer today because we've done lots of discussion together, and I want to see your answer in your workbook or in your yellow lined booklet, okay? But I will verbally tell you, because when we do comprehension, it's really good to say the answer first and then write it. Do you think Abigail likes the Science Museum? How do you know? So my answer is going to be, I think Abigail liked the Science Museum because in her diary entry, she said she hopes to go back soon, and that tells me she had a very good time. Then my full stop at the end. So that would be my sentence, okay? See if you can come up with your own sentence for question 4, and then do 1, 2 and 3 as well, and send me lots of photographs. Now I'm really excited to see your work from today because I think you're going to really enjoy and get some super answers, okay? So well done for listening to this video, and make sure you listen carefully to all the instructions, read your text, read your question, think about what it's asking you to do and answer them in full sentences, okay? Well done today, Year 1. Lots to be getting on with. Have a very good time and send me some photographs, and I'll see you tomorrow.